Hi, you guys. My name is Alexis, and this is Jesse, and we are the Sky Watchers. Thank you guys for tuning in, subscribing. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that we've been talking about since December of 2022, and that topic is the Law of One. Now, let's go back and just give you some context. In November of last year, I was going through a lot of things, and like we mentioned in the prior videos, me and Jesse's life is very like parallel, even though we can be on opposite sides of the country, the state, the world. It really doesn't matter. We usually like we usually meet up somewhere. And during last year, we really met up. We were meeting up a lot. We actually were very distant from each other when it came to communication, only because we were going through so much, and it was crazy. We were going through so much of the same thing. One of those things just being a lot of just like mental issues. I know for me, I was going through like a lot of mental things and a lot of disruptances internally that I was just really just trying to find my footing and find my ground. We were just basically talking about how she really wanted to be there for me, and it's crazy. I really wanted to be there for her, but we didn't have we didn't even have the energy to be there for ourselves. I was literally just
But we talked about it.
yeah.
Sorry, can't help you.
It was like literally like how would it go? I think there was one day, or yeah, there was one day I really wanted to reach out to her because I just felt like I needed to talk to her, but I really just could not. And I literally had to sit with myself, and I'm like, dude, I have no energy. I don't even know what's up or down right now. So we were just going through that. But whenever we checked in with each other, it was crazy. She would text a big long paragraph. So we would catch each other up for like 4 weeks of information. And then I would get overstimulated because I'm like, holy shit, that's what happened to me. It didn't happen to me the same way, but it happened to me.
Or we would text each other and say, "Are you okay?"
Yeah, and the crazy thing, those were rhetorical questions. We bet we were not okay. But I feel like knowing that you weren't okay, not saying it like that, but knowing that you weren't okay made me feel okay too, because I wasn't okay, and I just knew I wasn't going through it alone. So it's not because I wanted her to be going through something. I just felt like I was seen. I felt like she understood me. So circling back.
Weren't you going through a shadow? Okay, so I was
Oh,
going through a 9 year and a shadow year.
yeah, I was going through a shadow, a dark night.
And
I think I was going through everything.
I have a friend that's a psychic, and I asked Ed, and he goes, "Yeah, sometimes people can die in a shadow year." And I thought that makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, in last year,
in 9 years, you're losing everything.
okay.
It was awful.
Last year was my 5 year, and they said 5 is about a lot of like changes and transitions and adapting.
Yeah. Right.
So I was definitely going through a lot of changes and Well, I was moving a lot. Yeah. So anyway, so basically during that time, she came across some information about the Law of One. Now, I had never heard of the Law of One at all, and Jess was really the one that introduced the material to me. So, I'll let her explain how she actually came into finding the Law of One, and she'll most likely explain like what the Law of One is.
Well, we were talking about us both going through some pretty hard times, and November was especially hard for me. Actually, it was from the summer to November.
But, I think it was the whole year.
It was the whole year.
Yeah.
But I have two special days of the year, and not my birthday. November the 7th is, and November the 4th, the 4th going into the 7th, and I can't even tell you when it started. It's been that way most of my life, as long as I can remember, just being aware that November 7th was a special day. And so that was why I remembered so much about this November the 7th, because it was should be a day of reflection, but I didn't. It was not.
You weren't reflecting.
I literally was thinking of what it would be like to not be here, and then just in the thoughts about it, I had a voice that said, "We have much in common," and the voice came. It was pretty late at night. It was before I went to bed. We have much in common, and kind of alluded to a quest, a challenge. It was a challenge for a quest for me to make, and it didn't really mean anything because, but it did get my attention because it took me out of this kind of this morbid thought that I was, the place where I was.
Yeah.
And and he was just made it sound like I just needed to leave, like leave where I was and go somewhere else to get away.
Right.
And so that was on the 7th. The 8th, I texted my niece in Oklahoma City, and I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "Not much." And I said, "Can I come down?" She said, "Sure." The next day, I got in my Jeep. I didn't pack. I just got in my Jeep and left.
Yeah.
And showed up at her house, and I just said, "I'm not going to be really good company, but thank you." and then so we had a movie night, and because her husband is just delightful, she is delightful, and we started talking about. Well, he started talking about because since I've been a child, I've had visions and like premonitions and dreams and imaginary friends. And so my niece was telling him, because I didn't know him that well, and my niece was telling him about some of the things that happened to me as a child, and he was telling me some of the things that happened to him as a child and into adulthood. And the background, he's a very responsible human being. He is in the military. He's a colonel, and he has gotten awards from the governor, so he's not crazy.
Yeah.
And so he was telling about being, and sometimes in his dreams he goes to a place called the Federation of Planets, and as a delegate, and he does delegate things, and comes back to Earth, and he is, and I just, he started talking about these planets that, the blue planet, a green planet, and that really captured my attention, and it started making me think that was probably where this quest was taking me, because I've had dreams about a blue planet, a green planet, and that I'm from a planet, the green one. He was saying he was from the blue one. I got him for this video. I draw these planets and I carry them around for comfort, and he drew the same ones. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah, and he drew them, and we compared notes, and the next thing we started talking about this concept, the law of one, and I had never heard of it. It was a Ra contact. I didn't know who Ra was. I was thinking Ra from there was a ship, the Ra expedition.
And I had thought Ra was just the Egyptian, god.
Deity.
The
whatever.
deity.
I didn't, because when I told you about it, I said, because I was, so I spent the weekend in Oklahoma talking about the law of one. Still really didn't have any idea of what it was, so on my way back, I'm listening to YouTube videos. And so there's three people, Don Elkins, Jim McCarty, and Carla Ruckert. And I was thinking, I mean, everything was just falling into place, and I was thinking, I need to meet them, because it was too much. It gave me life back, and I think I talked to you too, and I was like, you're not going to believe this concept.
Yeah.
Was I driving back, or did I was texting?
You text me. She actually texted me, and at the time, like I said, I was going through a lot, and I honestly needed some type of, like, I guess, I needed some energy. I needed some spark back into my life. I just felt like I didn't feel good at all. So whenever she expressed this to me, at first, I heard her, but I was like, I'm not listening.
And it gave me spark, and I was like, you've got to have this.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I was not in that energy. I was just like, oh, the law of one. I'm stressed out. I can't even think about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, I actually sat back that day, and then the next day I actually looked at what she was talking about, because she was sending me the podcast, like, because you're listening to it on the Apple Podcast. She was sending them all to me. I was not listening to them. I did not want to listen. So, like, do you know, whenever you're just in that mind state of, I don't care, I don't want, everything is complete. I hate it. I hate everything. I was just in that energy, and then the next day I kind of got myself out of the funk, and plus she kept texting me, and I actually started to listen to it, and I was like, oh my god. It's because like I resonated with the information, and then that's when she really got back to explaining to me what it was. But she gets very excited, so she'll start talking really fast, and I'll be like, what are you talking about? So yeah.
Well, so that was the whole trip back because I live in Illinois, and so the whole trip back from Oklahoma City was just excitement over the Law of One, and just thinking I need to meet these people, but I didn't know who they could be, if they were alive or anything, and so I got back and I was looking online, and there was it's LL Research, and I was thinking LL Research, it's going to be it's going to be like this high-rise multi-billion-dollar thing in New York.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's Jim McCarty. He runs LL Research. He's just the most humble, down-to-earth human being you'll ever meet, and he's in Kentucky.
Yeah, and then Jess at the time, she had told me, she was telling me about Jim, and then I was like, wait a minute. So I actually researched him, and I was like, you're talking to Jim McCarty? Like, I was thinking in my mind, I'm like, you what? And
I can't believe it either.
Yeah, no, so I feel, and that's when you told me about you going to one of their meditations or something like that.
There's a meditation that they have at his house, and it was, I was expecting it to be, I didn't expect it to be so down to earth and just so humble and just just a servant of the Creator, a servant of people. Just and I wrote to them because I wanted to save a seat or a position at this meditation, and I kept thinking they're not going to write back. They probably, and why would they? Because there's probably
a billion people, yeah.
Right. And the next day, I got an email, and I thought, this is unreal.
Yeah.
And then I reserved a spot, showed up for the meditation. It was the most just amazing, awe-inspiring experience I'd ever had. It was a channeling that's there's an entity that the folks at the LL Research channel, and it's Quo. His name is Quo, and Ra is a social memory complex of I can't remember how many millions of like mind souls that are combined as one.
Right.
A social memory complex, millions as one, and I don't really know that much about Quo, but I think it's the same concept. It was fascinating, and so I downloaded the books on Audible for the Law of One, and it resonated so much with dreams and visions and just communication that I have with, I guess, other entities out there.
Right.
That I would like to maybe dedicate a good portion of this channel to that.
Yes, for sure. And whenever she told me about whenever she went to Kentucky, because at first I was like, well, you're going to Kentucky, like you're following through with this whole thing, because it was just beautiful to see how where the mind state she was in, she left, she followed her intuition there. It's like she followed her prompting. She got in the car. She didn't pack anything, and that's not like Jessie. She has to pack. So
I plan everything.
It was more so like a calling, if you would say, and that calling led her to like little nuggets that led her ultimately to to Kentucky. And whenever she got to Kentucky, and then she actually afterwards she she texted me this big long message, and I read it, and she was so excited. And she the audio books that she was listening to, I started to listen to too, and then that led to our meetup, and Jim was there, and whenever I was just sitting there, and he was talking about the law of one and what it was, and the social memory complexes, and he talked about love, and he talked about our vibrational frequencies, and he also talked about graduating and things like that. The information just resonated with me, right? It resonated in a way that I had understood a lot of these concepts before, but the way he compartmentalized it and really just expressed it in the law of one in that manner made me understand that information, that material from a different perspective. And I don't know, I felt called to it. And from from the meetup, I've just really been engaged in the law of one material. Now, I haven't finished the whole book. I'm an incremental type person because I feel like the book is very, you're talking from you're talking a different entity is talking. So they do have the way they explain things are a little bit, you have to kind of dissect it. You know what I'm saying? So it takes some time. However, it's really wonderful material, and I really look forward to finishing the book, and of course to just telling me more about it.
Well, I haven't finished the entire book either because I keep going back to the beginning.
Yeah.
I'll get to a certain chapter and then I'm like, I have to hear this again. I've been listening again and again.
Yeah.
And Jim has asked me if I've finished the book, and I'm like, no, because I keep
going back
to, yeah, I keep going back because I could hear it. It's so comforting, and it feels to me like home.
Right.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because we talked in that last video about knowing that there's something out there, knowing that there's something that communicates with us, that there's something in us that reaches out to something out there, and we know that there's a connection.
Right.
And when you listen to the law of one, it explains that connection.
Yeah, and at the same time, what really the Sky Watchers is I've always, just like Jess has, I've always had this connection with other beings, right? I've always had this connection. I've always been able to just receive downloads, receive information. At first, I didn't know what it was, but now that I do, it just...
Since you unclenched your hands.
Yeah, exactly. From the last video. Since I actually opened myself up to the material...
Can I say something?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Okay, is it Qigong?
Qigong. I think
okay,
Qigong,
so I was listening to a Qigong video, and he was actually talking, because I've never done this either. So he was talking about the hands, and he says, when you open the hands and you meditate with the hands open, it opens 6 channels of communication. And I thought that's probably what the beings that were asking me to tell you to stop clenching your fists, because they couldn't speak to you with your hands.
Right. And I've always had, the crazy thing is, like, I've always slept like this. It was always been a comforting thing, but I'm going to tell you this: when I unclenched my hands, I was in a different dimension every night.
She told me what life was like now.
Yeah, no, literally,
I don't sleep anymore.
I have a video of the next day, because I had this extreme, like, I didn't even go to work the next day. I remember this. I didn't go to work the next day.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, I still have the video on my phone. I was legitimately flying across the ceiling. I was all over. I was seeing like downloads of computer numbers. My head was like, I don't know.
You told me that you thought you said something's just not right. I've never.
Yeah, no, something wasn't right. I needed a day to recuperate, because I felt like I was like, dude, should I open my hands again? But no, ever since then, my hands have been open. I have gotten better at not controlling my dreams, but, I've gotten better to say, like, conscious in my dreams, like, hey, look, please not tonight. But usually that doesn't happen, because they're going to talk to me regardless. But it has gotten better. But I feel like I hadn't had that connection in so long. When I first got that first contact, it was just very intense. Um, and I can thank her for that. So, but yeah, that's what the sky watchers are, because that's what I believe. I believe these entities, these whatever you want to call them, they're out there. Like you can look, that you might not see physical bodies, but you can feel their energy. And I feel like those downloads, that's where they come from. And I feel like when it comes to the law of one, everything being one, that whole concept, it really just speaks to what has been happening to me my whole life.
And the same with me because it's a concept of, well, in the last video I
Mm.
talked about how I used to climb up this light pole. I
Oh
was
yeah.
5. I used to climb up this light pole and ask whoever left me to please come back and get me
Yeah.
because I can't do this.
Mhm.
And they didn't.
Yeah.
And so it's been a search ever since.
Mhm.
It's like, well, then why am I here?
Mhm.
And I think that was when I was 8. Well, I had an imaginary friend from the time I was 5 to 8 that spoke outside of me,
Mhm.
and then when I was 8, he would speak into my head.
Wow.
I would get the communication was different with your dreams,
Mhm.
and I've spent, I guess, from that time to now, just trying to figure out why I'm here.
Yeah.
And that was, it was, I was tired. I was tired. I thought, I don't really want to know anymore.
I don't want to be.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't care why I'm here. I just don't want to.
Yeah. I
And
don't want to
that
be a
was
part of this dimension
right.
anymore.
And that was when I got that message that we have much in common,
Mhm.
and led me on a journey to Oklahoma City
Mhm.
to discover the Law of One,
Mhm.
to meet Jim McCarty,
Mhm.
who I speak with pretty much daily now,
Right.
and my life has taken on a whole different course.
Right.
Hence the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
That are, it's new for me. And,
Right.
but I'll get better. You're good.
Yeah.
I'll
No,
get better. I hope I get better.
no, you're fine. Cause like it's crazy just talking about this. Cause if um, if this was us last year recording, you guys would get a whole different vibe from us. Like, not saying we would be two like totally different people, but the energy would definitely not be the same as it is now. So, I feel like, my dark night of the soul, and I can say, you were going through a 9 year, so you were going through a lot of changes, and definitely a lot of like transformation, and endings. I believe all of those scenarios and all of those circumstances that had happened to us for a reason. And ultimately, that day she decided to go to Oklahoma City, and then the person that came encountered with her and said connected with those planets. And then after that, she was then on a quest to Kentucky. She got to Kentucky, and then there she met Jim McCarty, and he introduced, also the law of one became something that also brought me and Jessica closer together.
It's a quest.
Mhm.
It's a wake up call.
Right.
It's a wake up call. It's something to share.
Mhm.
It's as if the universe and the cosmos is smaller now because we're all part of it.
Mhm.
It doesn't seem like such a mystery. I mean, it is, but it doesn't seem like such a mystery. It is. We are part of a bigger picture. We are part of a collective
Right.
that is coming together to find our way back home
Mhm.
to the one infinite creator.
Yeah. And how we were talking about love, because Jim talked about love a lot, in our, the Zoom call. He talked about love, and it made me look at love from a different perspective, because I always just thought about, like, okay, I love Jesse, like I love this person, that person, but
It
what,
was more like an emotion.
right, but the energy of love, being love, and being on that vibration, and then being able to see everyone as one, and then to just emulate what that is. I started to really just exercise love in my life, not just like expressing that emotion to someone. I was just expressing love through a different way, because I understood it from a different perspective. And yeah, how he explained, I can't do any justice because Jim is the expert. But love is definitely very important, especially as he talked about graduating and things like that.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And I think in the next video we could, because right now we're kind of, to me, introducing our awe, respect,
Yeah.
and just um, amazement
Yeah.
at this discovery
Hmm.
that is it's new, but
Hmm.
it's not new.
Hmm.
It's ancient,
Yeah.
and it's been us the whole time,
Hmm.
and we are just kind of having a new awareness.
Right. Awareness.
Other people may have already known about it, but I didn't.
Yeah, same. And I feel like this new awareness has helped me to really just ground myself because I was that person that always was like, where does this come from? Is this? What do I need to learn? Do I need to learn something new? Who do I need to follow? I can't even follow myself. I was looking for things outside of myself, honestly. I was looking for some guidance from all over the place, and it was honestly confusing me. I was looking from guidance from just everything outside of myself. And whenever you really just adopt the concept all is one, you can guide yourself. You can tune into, um, you can start being connected. You can open your hands. You can have that connection, and then you will find your footing. You will find yourself on a journey, just like me and Jess has been. But just how Jess got in her car that one day and just left. You will start
I
having.
didn't have any clothes. Well, the ones I was wearing.
Yeah.
I just showed up. Just
You will start having those experiences because I believe the first thing to finding something is you have to seek it. And whenever you're ready to seek something, I believe things start happening in your life that will set you on the path to find it. I think this is something Jesse, a quote Jesse had told me. I believe she did. If you didn't, just go along with it. Um, she told me that when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
we've talked about that.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
we have.
I can't remember who said that. But
Yeah. So whenever she was ready, Jim appeared. Whenever, and I believe that is one of the things that the Sky Watchers embodies. I believe that just as I am a teacher, I'm also a student, and I'm learning from Jesse all the time. I'm learning from the Law of One. I'm also learning from my own life experiences. I'm learning from my connection with the etheric realm. I'm learning from basically books. I'm learning from all things, and that still again talks about that law of one concept. It is all one. It may be interpreted differently. However, when you understand what the law of one is, then I believe that you understand how it syncs together.
and I think that a concept like that, um, each person. Okay, so I think about in the Indian historian, the Indian storyteller that would go from tribe to tribe,
Mm-hmm.
and he would tell stories. And each person in the tribe, depending on their age, depending on their experience, would get something different from the story.
Yeah.
And then he would go to the next tribe and the next tribe, and then when he'd come around, he may tell the same story, and this same story to the same people, and depending on their experiences from the time they heard it before, would get something else out of it, something different.
Right.
So it's where you are and what you're ready to hear,
Mm-hmm.
and what you want from it. And I think that's how the material affects you.
Mm-hmm.
It meets you where you are,
Yeah, that's beautiful.
and so and actually it made me really want to share and talk and
Mm-hmm.
meet other people that are going through the same experience, and hence this YouTube, our meetup.
Right. And I felt like too, I wanted to connect to more people too because I knew it was just more than me and Jess out there going through these things. And I also knew the information that we were receiving would also be of importance to other people that were not just looking for information, but were seeking information. Because, like I said, I knew for a fact that we were not just the only two people on this planet going through some of the things.
It felt like it though for a while.
It did, it did. I felt like I was in a dark place, and I was just like,
Alexis was here.
and that's why I told her, I was like, as much as even when we were distant, when we were going through a lot during last year, I still, Jessie was still my hope in that. Like, knowing that she existed gave me hope. Even if we weren't talking for weeks, because we were just going through a lot of things, because it was being connected to her that gave me hope. And in that, it just says a lot towards our relationship, that it goes beyond, just this realm. Because like I said, I know for a fact I have known her for centuries. And
I believe that too.
yeah.
I know that for a fact.
Yeah, and just having that connection, and then her going on that quest, and then in going through that quest, and then finding that information, especially about the Law of One. Like I said, it brought me into a better place as well, because I was just, trust me, I was hanging on by a thread. But that's what we really wanted to talk about today. We really wanted to just introduce the Law of One, because I know it's going to be some material that we will talk a lot
It's going to be
about.
something that's near and dear to my heart.
Right. We're gonna talk about talk a lot about the material. We will talk about other things as well. But this is just one of the things we really just wanted to just put out there, because this is gonna be material that we talk about a lot throughout the, I don't even know if I want to call it
Just
a
whenever.
series, but we will also like you guys, we will also talk about other topics. And as the channel grows and you guys start commenting, and maybe you guys have suggestions as to what you guys want us to talk about. Like, if you guys want us to talk about what did we did how did we cope through.
We may not do the tarot. We have to figure that out.
Yeah, no, we're gonna have
We
to.
have-
Yeah.
with our jobs
Mhm.
and with the connections we have
Mhm.
with
Outside.
we asked what the earth was want to say, and
That
we
can
look
get
at-
really complex. So we will definitely do maybe we may do some like pre-pulls before, and we'll just talk about things. But if you guys do have suggestions, of course we will adhere to those, and we'll take those into consideration. However, like I said, as the channel grows and you guys comment things, we can definitely go through those topics, especially topics like how do we cope through those dark times. Now, I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna know. I'm not gonna. Now, not all of them are like rainbow and sunshine stories, because that is not how my story was. But I can be raw and authentic with you and tell you what actually happened to me and how I got through it, even if it was times I didn't even know how I was getting through it. I was just one day at a time. So if that's something you guys would like to know about, I know me and Jess can probably have like a 3-hour video.
It's just with the experiences we have in connecting to spirits.
Mhm.
It's that place of loneliness to where you're alone in it, because
Yeah.
you go to work every day, and the people that understand that aren't there. You go
Yeah.
to different places, and those people that understand you aren't there. If you have those connections,
Right.
it's hard to find people.